Warning: Fazbear Entertainment is legally obligated to warn viewers that the following content contains spoilers for the new Help Wanted 2 update. If you'd like to avoid spoilers, we suggest you either click off or watch the intro segment for a basic spoiler-free idea of the lore. As always, remember that Fazbear Entertainment is not responsible for death, dismemberment, or injury. A new content update for Steelwolf's latest FNAF VR game, Help Wanted 2, came out a few days before the release of this video on the 10th of December after it was teased in Doko's Thanksmas stream. And this single update has just answered some of our biggest questions about the modern lore, including the canonicity of the books, the identity and origin of Tiger Rock, the truth about Glitchtrap, what Secret of the Mimic will be about, and more. This update was completely unexpected, and I have a few thoughts about it. Please remember to subscribe if you enjoyed the video. I'm Withered Circle, and today, we're going to be solving the brand new Help Wanted 2 update and its lore. To begin with, let me explain what we knew about this DLC before its release. On Saturday the 7th, Doko revealed an exclusive teaser from Steelwolf Studios, the developers of the modern era FNAF games, for a brand new update to the Help Wanted 2 VR game we got late last year. In the teaser, we got to see the Mimic in the gallery mode found in Help Wanted 2's lobby area, but that's not all. In the rightmost corner of the teaser, there was a white tiger plushie with one blue eye and one greenish yellow one, and theorists very quickly understood who this was meant to be. That someone is a character called Tiger Rock. More on him later. But now that it's finally out, what do we even play through in this update, and what did we learn from it? Well, when you first boot up the game, everything starts normal, but as you explore the lobby and the levels of the game, you can find several puzzle pieces scattered across the different areas of Help Wanted 2. In the private room level, you'll find an image of Jackie on the desk above the keypad. If you type 1979, the year Secret of the Mimic takes place, into the keypad, you'll get the Tiger Rock plushie that was teased to us in Doko's Thanksmas stream, complete with the iconic green and blue eyes from Tales from the Pizzaplex. As you continue to play the minigames, you'll find more puzzle pieces that you'll eventually piece together. But where? Well, after you collect the Tiger Rock plush, you can find it in the lobby, and the Mystic Hippo, who gives you hints to find several puzzle pieces, says that a hidden performer is ready to take a bow. And sure enough, when you look for the animatronics in the gallery mode, the Mimic is there, front and center. The game prompts you to throw something at it, and once you do, a door in the back of the pizzeria opens. And there, you'll find a gift-shaped music box with the same tune from the one we saw in the trailer for Secret of the Mimic, on a table in the middle of a room, with a carpet identical to that same trailer. Once you're done winding the box, Jackie will say "time to play," and an empty jigsaw puzzle frame will appear on the table. And it's this frame that you need to fill in with the puzzle pieces you find across the levels. Once you find all the puzzle pieces that put together a building with a factory in the background or a van, depending on if you're wearing the mask or not, a big building will appear in the distance. Once you take off the vanny mask, the house will be replaced with a blue van that contains a Mexus machine from Ruin and a keypad. A reminder that in the original Help Wanted 2, the vanny mask, which is identical to the one from Ruin, is an important mechanic to discover the environment around you as well as progress in the game. Anyway, if you walk over to the house, you'll find a code on the mailbox, 4625. More on this code in a bit when we talk about the lore, but if you type it into the keypad inside the van, Mexus itself will jump out of the machine but will end up being sucked back into it as the van drives away. And that's it. Roll credits. When you log back into the game, Jackie will appear in the gallery mode. Okay, so what's going on here? Well, first off, the Tiger Rock plushie feels like a very strong confirmation that some aspect of what we see in Tales from the Pizzaplex is canon to the games to some extent. Let me explain. In the Tales from the Pizzaplex novella, The Mimic, which will be very important to today's lore discussion, we find out about a young engineer called Edwin Murray and his son David. Edwin's wife died giving birth to David, and now the two live alone in an old factory, and Edwin is hired by Fazbear Entertainment to develop their Freddy Fazbear animatronics and other mascot technology for their pizzerias. Eventually, Edwin realizes that David doesn't really have any friends, but instead of finding him a human friend somewhere in the neighborhood, Edwin decides to build a robotic endoskeleton made to imitate anything it sees, which they call Mimic. The program used for this endoskeleton is dubbed Mimic-01, and it works perfectly. It imitates David and even becomes partially sentient, with the two developing a secret language and playing. With Edwin's work for Fazbear escalating, he starts paying less attention to David. But unfortunately, something went so wrong, and David runs out of the house and the car hits him. Eventually, Edwin sees the Mimic in the corner of his workshop, still doing the things David did while he was alive, expecting its playmate to come back. Furious, he beats the Mimic into robotic pulp and leaves it to rot in the factory before disappearing. This Help Wanted update revealed that what we see in these books is most likely true to the games, because David's favorite plushie and his only other friend aside from the Mimic was a white tiger plush. In the Tales novella Tiger Rock, we see the Mimic take on the form of a white tiger with mismatched eyes, just like in the teaser called Tiger Rock. And the Help Wanted 2 update has practically confirmed that this story, and in fact all the other Tales from the Pizzaplex stories, are canon to the games. Okay, quick break here. I know that there is a very large part of you who actively dislike the idea of the books being in the games. Although I've already been in your spot and I've already talked about my views on this subject, it was very simple for me to understand the books being in the main continuity. All I ask you is that while you watch this video, you forget all your bias. Forget every fear you believe in every video you watched and go in with an open mind. When you're done, think which path requires the least logical leaps, which one makes more sense for Scott and Steelwool to be following. I know it's not pleasant having some faceless nobody telling you to challenge your takes yourself, but trust me, forget Fazbear Frights and MatPat and Preg and Fazgoo and everything that you may dislike about the books. Hear me out. And now that we're done with that, let's actually talk about the update. Now that we've gone over the history of the Mimic and Tiger Rock, let's start from the top and explain the lore reason for how we get the Tiger Rock plushie. Throughout the original Help Wanted 2, you can collect several puppets of the Fazbear Entertainment animatronics and the puppet that are handed to you by Glitchtrap. And this Tiger Rock plush is also given to you by Glitchtrap's hand. And since we know from Help Wanted 1 that the Glitchtrap has connections to Afton and the Missing Children incident, that means that Glitchtrap giving you this Tiger Rock plush is important, because Glitchtrap is a branch of the Mimic's code, if not the Mimic itself. The original Help Wanted Glitchtrap is obviously imitating what he sees in the environment around him. After all, Fazbear Entertainment literally imported their history, including the story of William Afton and the dead kids, into their VR game. Glitchtrap handing us the puppets ties back to this connection, and if Glitchtrap was based on the Mimic 01 code, it explains why he imitates these events in the first place and why he hands us a Tiger Rock plushie. There's also the dialogue Mystic Hippo gives us that prompts us to throw an object at the Mimic statue to unlock the new content. A hidden performer is ready to take a bow, and a poor performer must be spry, tomatoes are in short supply. We toss whatever may be by, a solid hit will make one cry. The Mimic is an actor, someone who pretended to be Afton for years, and now it's finally ready to take a bow since the era of Glitchtrap has ended. Now you have to boo it off the stage by throwing something at it, since it's a common stereotype to throw tomatoes at actors if the show is bad. I've already talked about why I think Glitchtrap is the Mimic in the past, but I feel like this Tiger Rock plush being connected to Glitchtrap, when we already know thanks to the book that it's important to the Mimic, is an explicit thing worth calling out when thinking about this update. I'm a firm believer that this single update is blatant confirmation that Glitchtrap is some form of the Mimic. And now for the thing that probably left you confused the most. What's up with that weird building in the ending, and what about Max's in the van? Well, to start with the ending, I believe that the building we see here is Edwin's factory as described in the Mimic novella. Let me explain. As I covered earlier, it's described in the Mimic novella that Edwin Murray moved into an old factory with his family, meaning to refurbish it, but never did. And we know thanks to the people who played the Secret of the Mimic demo at PAX West, that it takes place in some kind of factory. So what if Fazbear Entertainment took possession of Edwin's factory after his disappearance, and that's why we see a factory in both Secret of the Mimic and the ending of this Help Wanted 2 update. After all, this would make sense since factories seem to be pretty strongly connected to the Mimic. And this explains why we see this factory at the end of the DLC that was pretty clearly made to advertise Secret of the Mimic. As for Mexes in the van, I've seen an idea floating around that Mexes was originally made to protect Jackie or the Mimic back in 1979 when Secret of the Mimic takes place, and this van is actually Vanessa and Gregory moving the machine to the Pizzaplex. After all, we don't see Mexes in the Mega Pizzaplex during the events of Security Breach, only in Ruin. But what if Vanessa and Gregory teamed up to move the Mexes machine to the Pizzaplex after they found out that the Mimic was down there, and of course after Vanessa was free of the Glitchtrap virus? This explains why the van is even there, and why it appears alongside the factory depending on whether you have the Vanny mask on or not. When you have it on, you're seeing the past, the factory from Secret of the Mimic, and when you have it off, not only does it symbolize Vanessa getting rid of the Vanny persona and helping Gregory, but you're also seeing the future with the Mexes machine being taken by the duo to keep the Mimic trapped. But there's a few more tiny details in this room, and specifically the ending of the update that are worth bringing up. First of these is the code that you have to enter into the Mexes panel to get the ending to the update. 4625. As I and others have pointed out, this could be a date, the 6th of April 2025, using the American dating system. And since Steelwool have said that they'll be revealing more about Secret of the Mimic next year, this could be the release date of a trailer for the game, if not the full game itself. Meaning we'll be getting it or content related to it way sooner than we could have expected. I also tried to find a lore meaning for these letters by scrambling them around or transferring them to letters of the alphabet, but I can't think of anything. But I think this is a deliberate tease for the release date of some big Secret of the Mimic material. There's also a lot of interesting design choices on the windows and walls of the factory itself, mainly the stained glass window at the front. On it, we see a design featuring a yellow Freddy-like animatronic and a blue bunny. If there's a yellow Freddy portrayed in what is likely something from the late 1970s, then that should be Fredbear, right? But if so, then what's normal Freddy Fazbear Bonnie doing there, and why isn't he yellow? To be honest, I'm not sure, and we're probably going to have to wait until Secret of the Mimic to find out what this means, but there's always the possibility that Spring Bonnie wasn't always yellow, or that maybe the Fazbear characters were introduced to Fredbears to perform alongside the pre-existing Stringlock suits. This is definitely something interesting that we should bear in mind when going into Secret of the Mimic, but for now, we can't be sure as to the meaning of this window. The factory also has a lot of sun and moon imagery with some decorative details and a partially unused asset depicting a grinning sun with a moon alongside it. Sun and moon are obviously the daycare attendants from Security Breach, and they've been theorized to be older characters from the original Fall Fests, which this factory is definitely connected to. We can't be 100% sure what their role was, but they were probably some kind of theatrical duo, and maybe they were even made by Edwin due to how similar Eclipse's teeth are to the Mimic's teeth. So what can I say for these last two details? Well, for the blue Bonnie, Bonnie, it's more likely to be pointing to the fact that the original characters are an orangey Freddy character, like we saw in the Fredbear's posters in Security Breach, and a bluish Bonnie, which were later phased out by Spring Bonnie and Fredbear, who were in turn replaced by the Freddy Fazbear Band we know today. As for the Sun and Moon depictions on the building, like I said, it's probably depicting them as some older Fazbear Entertainment characters, and we're probably going to see more primitive versions of the pair in Secret of the Mimic. Something worth pointing out is how the puzzle we put together at the end of the update changes depending on whether we're wearing the Vanny mask or not. This could mean that back in the early days of Fazbear, they developed some kind of holographic text similar to the Vanny mask, and that allowed customers to see certain images differently. And maybe it was one of those early holographic masks that inspired Vanessa to make her Vanny outfit and persona. There's also a really weird and gross detail about the Tiger Rock plush, which is that when you zoom into his head in VR mode, you can see some weird meaty flesh substance just below where his head should be. No one seems to know what this could mean, but I think it's either a weird acid error or something to do with the Mimic's past. The back of the plush has a zipper, and the plush could even be a costume, so what if the Mimic put something into the Tiger Rock plush that made it look like that on the inside? A corpse. This ties into my theory about the Mimic having seen the stuffing of the MCI kids, which I suggest you watch after this one's done, but I'm still not sure that this is actually the case. Whatever this weird flesh group thing ends up being, I sure hope it's nothing related to dead kids, because that would be a very weird direction for the lore of the Mimic. So now that we've gone over all the Easter eggs, lore, and so on, from an in-universe lore perspective, what the hell is going on in this DLC? Well, I think that what we're seeing here is the Mimic pouring out its past into the simulation in the player's brain. Remember that we're probably playing as Cassie's dad in Help Wanted 2, so maybe the Mimic's past was triggered by Glitch Trap being destroyed in the original game's ending. When the Afton obsessed persona died, the original hurt and tragic Mimic, and though that was abused and beaten by Edwin, resurfaced to release his memories into the player's brain. After all, the way you get the DLC content is by literally throwing things at the Mimic while it's on the gallery stage, essentially bullying it off a stage, which might trigger some of its memories and might tie into Secret of the Mimic. After all, the Mimic isn't just a simple endo. It's a semi-conscious being with memories that was affected by the death of its friend David and the agony Edwin gave it when he beat it up. It has emotions, just like the Fazbear animatronics. These memories could pour out after the death of the Glitch Trap persona at the hands of Vanny, with the Mimic remembering the factory it came from, David's favorite Tiger Rock plush, and a Jackie animatronic from the 1970s Fazbear Entertainment locations. And with that, that's pretty much all the lore from Help Wanted 2's brand new update. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed its theory. It was difficult to put the pieces together at such short notice right after the DLC's release, but I did my best, and I'm pretty sure I got all the lore down. Please remember to like and subscribe, but most importantly, comment your opinion on this theory if you enjoyed it or if you didn't. Just remember to be respectful. As always, remember, keep on theorizing and never stop overthinking. This has been Woodard Circle, the Midnight Theorist.